My name is Kelson DaCosta Saul. Friends call me Katie. I am 90 years old. While I would have left school decades ago, that has never stopped me from continuing to learn through reading and writing. I am a regular reader of the Bible and newspaper. I also like to write pieces of poetry. I totally embrace the various technologies and I keep in touch with people through sending greetings cards and WhatsApp messages. Additionally, my computer keeps me in touch with friends in some parts of the world. No matter how old you are, you should never stop learning. You should never stop reading and writing. That's an advice I will give to anyone.
My name is Stephanie. As an adult, I realized that literacy is important to my life and work. Everywhere I turn, I have to fill forms, read signs, and read labels. Reading have never been easy for me. Thankfully, at the Spring Memorial School, there was a special program for girls like myself who needed the extra help. If we can get more of these programs introduced in schools, it will be able to help persons to read in the further future. Thankfully, literacy is a part of my everyday life for both my children and I, where I have to read the amount of doses for medicine for themselves and myself, for them and myself, along with using the computer. Literacy is everything.
I am Dr. Errol Bolden, professor and associate provost and associate vice president at Coppin State University. I'm also a poet, an inspirational writer, and a motivational speaker. Writing for me is inspirational because I view it as an art form that gives me the freedom to express what I, as well as others, may feel. Writing for me is sometimes therapeutic or cathartic, and it may serve the same purpose for the reader.
Hi, my name is Fern, and I love to write. I'm the author of the children's novel 0054. When I write, I share my ideas with all of you. It involves skills such as spelling and grammar, and strategies such as brainstorming, developing ideas, and graphic organizers. And this is my book, 0054. It tells of kids in a hospital setting, facing health challenges, but still spreading their love to everyone they meet while they solve hospital mysteries. I love to write so that you can read.
My name is Kelson DaCosta Saul. Friends call me Katie. I am 90 years old. While I would have left school decades ago, that has never stopped me from continuing to learn through reading and writing. I am a regular reader of the Bible and newspaper. I also like to write pieces of poetry. I totally embrace the various technologies and I keep in touch with people through sending greetings cards and WhatsApp messages. Additionally, my computer keeps me in touch with friends in some parts of the world. No matter how old you are, you should never stop learning. You should never stop reading and writing. That's an advice I will give to anyone.
My name is Stephanie. As an adult, I realized that literacy is important to my life and work. Everywhere I turn, I have to fill forms, read signs, and read labels. Reading have never been easy for me. Thankfully, At the Spring Memorial School, there was a special program for girls like myself who needed the extra help. If we can get more of these programs introduced in schools, it will be able to help persons to read in the further future. Thankfully, literacy is a part of my everyday life for both my children and I, where I have to read the amount of doses for medicine for themselves and myself, for them and myself, along with using the computer. Literacy is everything.
I am Dr. Errol Bolden, professor and associate provost and associate vice president at Coppin State University. I'm also a poet, an inspirational writer, and a motivational speaker. Writing for me is inspirational because I view it as an art form that gives me the freedom to express what I, as well as others, may feel. Writing for me is sometimes therapeutic or cathartic, and it may serve the same purpose for the reader.
Hi, my name is Fern, and I love to write. I'm the author of the children's novel 0054. When I write, I share my ideas with all of you. It involves skills such as spelling and grammar, and strategies such as brainstorming, developing ideas, and graphic organizers. And this is my book, 0054. It tells of health challenges, but still spreading their love to everyone they meet while they solve hospital mysteries. I love to write so that you can read.
My name is Kelson DaCosta Saul. Friends call me Katie. I am 90 years old. While I would have left school decades ago, that has never stopped me from continuing to learn through reading and writing. I'm a regular reader of the Bible and newspaper. I also like to write pieces of poetry. I totally embrace the various technologies and I keep in touch with people through sending greetings cards and WhatsApp messages. Additionally, my computer keeps me in touch with friends in some parts of the world. No matter how old you are, you should never stop learning. You should never stop reading and writing. That's an advice I will give to anyone.
My name is Stephanie. As an adult, I realized that literacy is important to my life and work. Everywhere I turn, I have to fill forms, read signs, and read labels. Reading have never been easy for me. Thankfully, at the Spring Memorial School, there was a special program for girls like myself who needed the extra help. If we can get more of these programs introduced in schools, it will be able to help persons to read in the further. Thankfully, literacy is a part of my everyday life for both my children and I, where I have to read the amount of doses for medicine for themselves and myself, for them and myself, along with using the computer. Literacy is everything.
I am Dr. Errol Bolden, professor and associate provost and associate vice president at Coppin State University. I'm also a poet, an inspirational writer, and a motivational speaker. Writing for me is inspirational because I view it as an art form that gives me the freedom to express what I, as well as others may feel. Writing for me is sometimes therapeutic or cathartic, and it may serve the same purpose for the reader.
Hi, my name is Fern, and I love to write. I'm the author of the children's novel 0054. When I write, I share my ideas with all of you. It involves skills such as spelling and grammar, and strategies such as brainstorming, developing ideas, and graphic organizers. And this is my book, 0054. It tells of kids in a hospital setting facing health challenges, but still spreading their love to everyone they meet while they solve hospital mysteries. I love to write so that you can read.
My name is Kelson DeCosta Saul. Friends call me Katie. I am 90 years old. While I would have left school decades ago, that has never stopped me from continuing to learn through reading and writing. I am a regular reader of the Bible and newspaper. I also like to write pieces of poetry. I totally embrace the various technologies, and I keep in touch with people through sending greetings cards and WhatsApp messages. Additionally, my computer keeps me in touch with friends in some parts of the world. No matter how old you are, you should never stop learning. You should never stop reading and writing. That's an advice I will give to anyone.
My name is Stephanie. As an adult, I realized that literacy is important to my life and work. Everywhere I turn, I have to fill forms, read signs, and read labels. Reading have never been easy for me. Thankfully, at the Spring Memorial School, there was a special program for girls like myself who needed the extra help. If we can get more of these programs introduced in schools, it will be able to help persons to read in the further future. Thankfully, literacy is a part of my everyday life for both my children and I, where I have to read the amount of doses for medicine for themselves and myself, for them and myself, along with using the computer. Literacy is everything.
I am Dr. Errol Bolden, professor and associate provost and associate vice president at Coppin State University. I'm also a poet, an inspirational writer, and a motivational speaker. Writing for me is inspirational because I view it as an art form that gives me the freedom to express what I, as well as others, may feel. Writing for me is sometimes therapeutic or cathartic, and it may serve the same purpose for the reader.
Hi, my name is Fern, and I love to write. I'm the author of the children's novel 0054. When I write, I share my ideas with all of you. It involves skills such as spelling and grammar, and strategies such as brainstorming, developing ideas, and graphic organizers. And this is my book, 0054. It tells of kids in a hospital setting facing health challenges, but still spreading their love to everyone they meet while they solve hospital mysteries. I love to write so that you can read.
My name is Kelson DaCosta Saul. Friends call me Katie. I am 90 years old. While I would have left school decades ago, that has never stopped me from continuing to learn through reading and writing. I am a regular reader of the Bible and newspaper. I also like to write pieces of poetry. I totally embrace the various technologies and I keep in touch with people through sending greetings cards and WhatsApp messages. Additionally, my computer keeps me in touch with friends in some parts of the world. No matter how old you are, you should never stop learning. You should never stop reading and writing. That's an advice I will give to anyone.
My name is Stephanie. As an adult, I realized that literacy is important to my life and work. Everywhere I turn, I have to fill forms, read signs, and read labels. Reading have never been easy for me. Thankfully, at the Spring Memorial School, there was a special program for girls like myself who needed the extra help. If we can get more of these programs introduced in schools, it will be able to help persons to read in the further future. Thankfully, literacy is a part of my everyday life for both my children and I, where I have to read the amount of doses for medicine for themselves and myself, for them and myself, along with using the computer. Literacy is everything.
I am Dr. Errol Bolden, professor and associate provost and associate vice president at Coppin State University. I'm also a poet, an inspirational writer, and a motivational speaker. Writing for me is inspirational because I view it as an art form that gives me the freedom to express what I, as well as others, may feel. Writing for me is sometimes therapeutic or cathartic, and it may serve the same purpose for the reader.
Hi, my name is Fern, and I love to write. I'm the author of the children's novel 0054. When I write, I share my ideas with all of you. It involves skills such as spelling and grammar, and strategies such as brainstorming, developing ideas, and graphic organizers. And this is my book, 0054. It tells of kids in a hospital setting, facing health challenges, but still spreading their love to everyone they meet while they solve hospital mysteries. I love to write so that you can read.
My name is Kelson DaCosta Saul. Friends call me Katie. I am 90 years old. While I would have left school decades ago, that has never stopped me from continuing to learn through reading and writing. I am a regular reader of the Bible and newspaper. I also like to write pieces of poetry. I totally embrace the various technologies and I keep in touch with people.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly stand for the national anthem of Barbados. national anthem. You may have your seats, ladies and gentlemen. It certainly does stir pride in our hearts when we hear that anthem played across the world. And so let's not take it for granted when we hear it played right here on our own shores. Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, the Honorable Kay McConney. Ministers of Government in attendance. Permanent Secretary in Education, Ms. Wendy Odo. Other Permanent Secretaries and the Deputy Permanent Secretaries in attendance. Chief Education Officer, Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw. Other officers of the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training. Directors, heads, officers of government and non-governmental departments and organizations. Principals, heads, teachers of primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions. Members of students' councils and other student representatives. Heads of unions and charitable organizations. Chairperson and members of the National Task Force on Literacy Education. Specially invited guests, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a wonderful good afternoon. I feel like that greeting in return didn't quite reflect the energy with which I greeted you. So perhaps we could, as some radio DJs would say, pull that one up again from the top. Good afternoon. Oh, yes, indeed. It certainly is a pleasure for all of us to be here on such a significant and landmark occasion in our nation's history, and certainly in the development of the literacy landscape of our country. Literacy empowers us to make sense of, interact with, and influence the world in which we live. Life can be littered with unprecedented treasures and unexpected traps, and it is literacy that becomes the map that helps us to navigate safely and successfully. My name is Raphael Saul, honored to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for this afternoon's launch, the official launch of the National Task Force on Literacy Education. We're going to have a good time this afternoon. To get us started, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Sylvia Henry, Chairperson of the National Task Force on Literacy Education and Chairperson of the Board of Management of the Erdiston Teachers Training College. And I believe, though this is a significant occasion, we can give a loud round of applause to invite Dr. Henry as she comes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Saul. Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Honorable Kay McConney. Minister of State, Higher Education, Honorable Sandra Husbands. Other Ministers of Government, Permanent Secretary, Education, Ms. Wendy Odell. Other Permanent Secretaries and Deputy Permanent Secretaries, Chief Education Officer, Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw, and other officers of that ministry, directors, heads, officers of governmental and non-governmental departments and organizations, principals, heads, teachers of primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions, members of our student council. I'm so happy to see the students here, and other student representatives, heads of unions, charitable organizations, members of the National Task Force on Literacy Education, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. If you look around this room, you should see a huge smile on the faces of many. And why a smile? You can see a huge smile on my face today. Why a smile? Because we are absolutely delighted to have reached this far. The launch of the National Task Force on Literacy Education. The establishment of this task force is in response to the many calls from educators, from parents, actually from all of you. It is in response to the data which have reinforced through its empirical evidence that something needs to be done to improve our literacy standards in Barbados. So allow me to take you back several years, although I see some young people here, but I will take you back on reflection. How many of you have heard someone say, Mr. Smith can't dance? He can't dance at all. And it was nothing to do with a waltz or two-step rumba. Can't dance. Or I'm taking granddad or my neighbor to the bank so that he or she can mark the X on the document. You know about that? Right. Or maybe you heard, young man, I forgot my glasses. Look and tell me where that bus is going. They're making the signs so small nowadays, I can't even read it. You know about that one? Or you might have heard, I don't know why they keep changing around the shelves in the supermarket. What does that sign say, young miss? You might have heard, George has a way with words. He has a way with words, but he can't mark fat. It took me a long time to understand what that meant. He can't mark fat. Or you might have heard, Mary is such a wonderful person. She's a wonderful soul. But a pity she can't spell Ada backwards. You know that? Young people, they don't know who Ada is. It's like spelling CBC backwards. So you're smiling, so you know what I'm talking about. And all of this was occurring at a time when literacy was understood to be the ability to read a portion of the newspaper or a basic print text like the Bible, like a Bible verse. And those persons that I just described must be commended for using ingenious strategies to get by. And this was at a time when literacy was assessed and it was focused on reading. And I can remember, memorizing or trying to read in front of a mirror a basic comprehension text, and then standing before somebody to be followed by a written comprehension quiz after. The UNESCO definition at that time in the 50s, during that period, stated a person is literate who can, with some understanding, both read and write a short, simple statement on his or her everyday life. That was the UNESCO definition in the 1950s. A person is literate who can, with some understanding, both read and write a short, simple statement on his everyday life. Fast forward, January 2024. The UNESCO definition has evolved. And I've placed it in your program, so you can probably look at it now. Because I want you to keep it and read it, internalize it. The definition of literacy 2024 states, literacy is a continuum of learning, and proficiency in reading, writing, and using numbers throughout life, and is part of a larger set of skills which include digital skills, media literacy, of course, information literacy, education for sustainable development and global citizenship, as well as job-specific skills. A far cry from the 1950 definition, a person is literate who can, with some understanding, both read and write a short, simple statement on his everyday life. And many of the definitions expand to their literacy skills being listening, speaking, reading, writing, and viewing has been included. So when we really think about it, not one of us reaches a point of what I call literacy saturation or literacy accomplishment and stops. It is important that we all recognize that as long as we wake up, as long as we are breathing, we should continue learning. We must continue to develop our literacy skills. Every day, we should think about creating and developing a better me, creating and developing a more literate me. This task force is aimed at stimulating that awareness and promoting ways of national engagement. Today, I am delighted to welcome you, those in this room and those online, to the start of what promises to be an exciting journey of learning and sharing. You are here because you have a role to play. I welcome you and I encourage you to consider how you can become an active part of transforming our nation through literacy education. So welcome all. Thank you. Where's the chairman? Oh. So at this time, Chairman, I'm going to ask you kindly if I can. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. So as chair of the task force, I cannot do everything. There's so much to be done. And I cannot do it alone. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce you to my hardworking team. What I can say also, the model that I have chosen to lead this team is the Cascade model. I've established a core team of about 6 persons, and this team then reports to a full implementation team of about 14 persons, and we can then cascade and we can enlist other players, partners, resource persons. We've already reached out to the Rotary and multi-agency players and to BARP and as necessary. So at this time, I will call your names, and they're in no special order. The group is made up of education officers, teachers, community specialists, literacy specialists, retired educators, and I will call first the team, my core team. Professor Hazel Simmons MacDonald, she's not here, but she's online. Professor Joel Warrican is also online. Dr. Patricia Saul is here. Dr. Saul, please. Thank you. Dr. Christina Hines is, where is Dr. Christina? Morris, sorry, what did I say? I was looking at Hines and saying, oh yes, there she is. Christina Morris. This is Janelle. Where's Janelle? Oh yes, she's working at the back even now. Miss Alison Murray, I know she was on her way. Yes. Yes, at the back. Great, she's there. And Mrs. Gloria Haynes. Mrs. Alicia Taylor. This is great. Mrs. Lee Carter. Wonderful. Sandy Field-Kelman. Yes. Dr. Globina Springer. Wonderful. Miss Miranda Fergus. Mrs. Michelle Goodin. Wonderful. Mrs. Pamela Eiffel. Miss Victoria Costello. Excellent. Mr. Adrian Lackman. Yes. Mr. Vaughn Tatum. Mrs. Shelley Boyce, I saw Shelley. Wonderful. Most of you know Shelley. Dr. Astra Babb, did I see her before? Wonderful. At the back. I hope I didn't miss anyone, but I want to thank you for all that you've done so far and all that you intend to do to promote literacy in Barbados. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sylvia Henry, Chairperson of the National Task Force on Literacy Education. Now, you may not be able to tell by virtue of the fluency and ease with which I'm able to communicate with you now, but I didn't grow up loving reading. As a matter of fact, to some extent, I'm not sure I do now. But I grew up with a mother who insisted that every night before bed, we had to read. And so, almost by force, I developed a certain level of confidence and competence with the written text, which then could translate to the oral one. But I want us to appreciate that These are not just skills to help an individual learn how to interact with black and white more easily. But very recently, I said to my mother, who may or may not be in this room, I was in a foreign airport that I had never arrived at before. And I felt completely lost, very unable to figure out which direction I should go in. The signs were, some of them at least, in a different language. And I had to call on all of my skills of literacy, whether it was signs, numbers, picking apart some of the words that I saw to try to discern where I needed to go and what I needed to do next. This is the kind of citizen, I believe, that we want the task force to be able to create across this country. That regardless of the environment in which that citizen is placed, he or she is well seized with the skills that he or she needs to interact meaningfully and be able to navigate through a very dynamic and ever-changing environment. So, to give us an overview on why a task force on literacy education is now critical, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw, Chief Education Officer, Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training. Dr. Archer Bradshaw.
The Honorable Kay McConney, Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Permanent Secretary, other Permanent Secretaries and Deputy Permanent Secretaries, other officers of the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, directors, heads, officers of governmental and non-governmental departments and organizations, principals, heads, teachers of primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions, members of the Student Council and other student representatives, heads of unions and charitable organizations, chairperson and members of the National Task Force on Literacy Education, specially invited guests, members of the media, good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to answer that question of why. Why a task force on literacy education? There is no doubt that literacy is the foundation on which we build a bright future for every Barbadian man, woman, and child. It is a tool with which we craft our destiny. As Dr. Henry just shared, literacy is not only about the ability to read and write, but about empowering our citizens to navigate the complexities of the 21st century with confidence and competence. As a ministry, much work has been done and continues to be done to support and develop literacy education in our schools. For example, the ministry has hosted story writing competitions, literacy showcases, and more recently, the Poetry and Prose competition during Education Month 2023 to bring attention to the speaking and writing ability of our students at the primary and secondary levels. Additionally, our education officers are our champions, and they continue to source high-quality literacy resources for selected primary and secondary schools to assist with skill development in reading and comprehension. Education officers also continue to conduct workshops in these areas as recently as last term to assist with the continuous in-service professional development of our teachers. The ministry also offers a summer school program that seeks to expose specially identified Class 3 and Class 4 students to activities and approaches designed to foster a love for reading. The participants in that program are taught reading and writing skills, skills that are designed to strengthen areas of weakness. Last summer, out of the 62 students who took the pre and post tests in reading, 54% of them moved up one or more grade levels in reading after participation in the program. As recently as last school year, a pilot using Snappy Sounds, a systematic synthetic phonics program designed by Macmillan Education, was implemented in 3 select primary schools. This pilot aimed to strengthen the teaching and learning of foundational reading skills at the early childhood and remedial levels. At the Belmont Primary School, one of the pilot schools, it was reported that students of Infants A demonstrated increased confidence and a very positive attitude towards reading. Most students were able to decode unfamiliar words with no prompting from the teacher and encode words based on phonic rules that were taught. However, like many nations, Barbados still faces a unique set of challenges in literacy education, and there remain undercurrents of disparity that require our immediate attention. In fact, an analysis of national data from the Criterion Reference Test for the period 2012 to 2021 reveals that foundational skills in English were weak for most students at the Infants B and Class 2 levels. Furthermore, data derived from the Barbados Secondary Schools Entrance Examination, or the BSSCE, for the same period reveals that an average of 20% of students scored less than 50%, 13% of students scored below 40%, while an average of 8% scored less than 30%, and this is in English. A cursory glance at the cumulative data suggests that while some deficits identified at the Infants B and Class 2 levels were remediated, some students continue to underperform at the BSSEE level. Moreover, data derived from the National Assessment of Secondary Schools 2023, which was administered to determine the English proficiency of second, third, and fourth formers, showed that the mean performance of students in English was 47%. Of concern was the number of schools which recorded students who scored 0 as a minimum score at the 3 form levels. Out of the 21 secondary schools, 11 of them had students who gained 0% as a minimum score at the second form level, 7 schools with students who scored 0% as a minimum score at the third form level, and 4 schools with students gaining 0% as a minimum score at the fourth form level. In response to the concerning statistics, the Ministry of Education held meetings with principals at the primary and secondary levels to discuss strategic interventions to boost reading and literacy at their respective schools. Erdiston Teachers Training College was also called upon to develop training courses for teachers at the primary and secondary levels in the teaching of reading and the teaching of writing. In addition, the ministry saw it necessary to draft a strategic reading action plan 2024-2025, which recommends targeted interventions and evidence-based instructional strategies and approaches in reading for primary and select secondary schools. To support and expand the work of the ministry, the National Task Force on Literacy Education was formalized in January 2024. This task force will collaborate with the ministry in a concerted effort to elevate literacy levels in our schools, our homes, and our communities. The overarching objectives of the task force are to provide strategic direction and leadership on matters related to literacy education, improve students' reading and writing outcomes, foster love for reading among children and adults in Barbados, collaborate with educational institutions, community organizations, and government agencies to develop and implement initiatives that promote reading, conduct research and analyze findings to identify key challenges and opportunities in the field of literacy education locally, advocate for increased investment in reading programs and resources for children and adults, represent the National Task Force on Literacy Education at national conferences, seminars, and events. It is further envisaged that the task force will assist the Ministry of Education to address educational inequity. Despite our achievements, disparities in educational outcomes persist. The task force can recommend and implement targeted programs to ensure that every Barbadian, regardless of their socio-economic background, has access to quality literacy education. By focusing on early intervention and support, we can lay a strong foundation for lifelong learning and success. The task force can also help the Ministry of Education embrace digital literacy. The digital revolution has transformed the way we live, the way we work, and the way we communicate. However, to fully participate in this digital world, our citizens must be equipped with the necessary digital literacy skills. The task force will champion the integration of digital literacy into our educational frameworks, ensuring that all Barbadians are prepared to thrive in a digital economy. The task force will assist us in promoting lifelong learning. The notion that education ends with schooling is outdated. In an ever-changing global landscape, the ability to adapt and learn new skills is paramount. The task force should advocate for and facilitate lifelong learning opportunities, ensuring that our workforce remains competitive and our citizens fulfilled. The task force should help us to foster economic growth. Literacy is a driver of economic development. A literate and educated workforce is more productive, innovative, and capable of contributing to the economic growth and stability of our nation. By investing in literacy education, we are investing in the economic future of Barbados. And finally, this task force should help us to strengthen democracy. Literacy empowers individuals to engage with societal issues, participate in democratic processes, and make informed decisions. The task force will play a crucial role in fostering informed citizenship, contributing to a vibrant, participatory democracy in Barbados. The establishment of a task force for literacy education in Barbados embodies the ministry's commitment to social justice, equity, and the belief in the transformative power of education. Let us come together as a nation to support this vital initiative. By investing in literacy, we are not just enhancing individual lives, we are nurturing the growth of our society, preserving the values we hold dear, and paving the way for a brighter future for all Barbadians. In essence, this task force will help the ministry to script a brighter, more literate chapter in the history of our country, Barbados. I hope now you understand why the Task Force on Literacy Education. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Why a task force on literacy education is now required, I think succinctly and effectively communicated by our Chief Education Officer, Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw. One of the things that she mentioned that I thought was significant is that historically, Dr. Henry mentioned it also, there has been much anecdotal talk about literacy in Barbados. Many of us have grown up, as I have, hearing that Barbados is how much percent literate? Somebody tell me? 97, 98, 95, somewhere in that region. Yet it feels that as we navigate around the island, this does not necessarily translate into our lived experience. And it is because growth and strategy require us to move beyond anecdotes. And what I'm hearing from Dr. Archer Bradshaw and certainly Dr. Henry and the task force is that we're not trying to go forward based on anecdotes alone. We want evidence, we want strategy, and we want an all-of-society approach to addressing our shortfalls and deficits for literacy nationally. Speaking about nationally, of course, it encompasses all levels of society. And so I'm pleased to welcome our next two presenters representing APS and BAPS. I got it right, Mrs. Walker. APS and BAPS. So the second individual you will hear from, Mr. Stephen Jackman, president of the Barbados Association of Principals of Public Secondary Schools. Before him and immediately next, you will hear from Mrs. Alwyn Walker, president of APS, the Association of Public Primary School Principals. Mrs. Walker.
Thank you, Mrs. Saul. Honorable Kay McConney in her absence, Minister of Education and Technological and Vocational Training, permanent secretaries, principals, specially invited guests, the directors, national non-governmental organizations, I will say colleagues and friends of education. Good afternoon to you. Literacy has always been an important aspect of school. Over the years, our understanding of literacy has expanded. From the late 20th into the 21st century, the definition of literacy has grown to include much more than reading and writing. A definition which has been offered by several organizations includes the ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, communicate, and compute using printed and written materials associated with varying contexts to evaluate, to achieve one's goals, and develop one's knowledge and potential, basically making sense of the world. The expansion of technology globally in all facets of life has led to the inclusion of numeracy and technology skills as part of literacy. In fact, we can say with certainty, literacy is critical in the effective and efficient production of work for all occupations, ranging from low income to executive levels. Furthermore, it is an instrumental factor in developing and improving skills shown to be a pivotal factor in one's socio-economic status. In simpler terms, the level of literacy, according to some, exhibited is generally directly linked to one's level of success. Research has revealed that children from low socioeconomic families generally have lower levels of reading and language achievement and abilities. This factor must also be considered within our Barbadian context. It is a noticed reality, though not formally documented. Conversely, children who come from higher socio-economic backgrounds tend to perform better academically because of high literacy, and this is according to the research. The disparity between the two groups has been shown to correlate to the opportunities available to each group to improve academic achievements. The current research can be said to mirror some of our schools. While schools are given the mandate of providing children with equitable learning opportunities, the disparities between the literacy levels of the two socioeconomic groups can make fulfilling our mandate challenging. From our own undocumented observations, children with low levels of literacy tend to have difficulties in knowing how to read, which impacts ability to study, while others display high levels of anxiety and frustration. Still more show poor planning skills and reading comprehension difficulties. The results are poor grades, not completing homework, and at times challenging behavior and a disinterest in learning. At the administrative level, several factors also impact literacy in schools. A major factor is the lack of adequate funding for the purchase of much needed materials, subscribing to online resources and websites, home support, which is critical to student achievement, student attitude, as well as the effective and systematic teacher training and retooling in literacy education. The latter will create the need for well-informed educators who grasp the importance of literacy to student learning. The development of a rich, well-designed whole school literacy program will also be instrumental in fostering growth and providing the environment needed for student success. Systematic instruction of students in foundational reading and writing skills at an early age is a necessity. Moreover, the availability of a variety of educational materials cannot be understated. We can all therefore agree that literacy education will empower our students. It will improve their ability to problem solve and think critically, develop the ability to express and communicate feelings appropriately, provide them with the opportunity to make greater choices in everyday life, and more importantly, build self-confidence. It will also prepare them as they transition to secondary school, further allowing them to function effectively in society. It is important that we develop these crucial literacy skills from as early as nursery school to ensure our students reap the greatest success while providing them with a solid foundation. Emphasis must also be placed on our special needs population. With the increased observed number of students who are nonverbal or exercise selective mutism, an increased number in ADHD, and other related challenges, the strategies used must be adapted to suit their developmental needs. There must be a shift to our approach to literacy education. The traditional benchmarks and standards are no longer effective in servicing the needs of our students. It is hoped that this task force can provide guidance to our education fraternity in creating literacy programs that are sound, research-based, current, and relevant. To this end, the Association of Public Primary School Principals pledges our support in helping the task force to reach this goal. As we consider our students' futures and the future of our country, literacy is the key which will open many doors globally. Our duty as educators is to do what we do best, and that is to motivate our students, develop the interests of self-exploration and that burning desire for learning. We wish the task force much success in carrying out the mandate of transforming our nation through literacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. And now the president of BAPS, the Barbados Association of Principals of Public Secondary Schools. I got it. Thank you so much for your support, though. Mr. Stephen Jackman.
The Honorable Kay McConney, Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, and other permanent secretaries, directors and heads of departments and other officials, education officers, principals, teachers, members of the Students' Councils, chairperson and members of the National Task Force on Literacy Education, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. So we're showing off all the different types of literacy. The school is being asked each and every day to add more and more to the curriculum. The world is moving at such a rapid pace that the requirements made of schools seem almost unachievable. The demands for digital literacy, financial literacy, and even social and emotional literacy are ever present. And the discussion of the usefulness or dangers of artificial intelligence all have taken center stage in recent times. It is necessary to understand that all the technology, resources, and curricula are all underpinned by the ability of the student to make sense of the information being presented to them. The process of decoding the symbols that define our language and create meaning out of these symbols that allow us to function effectively is called literacy. Traditionally, literacy has been seen as the ability to read and write, to communicate via the written word. While there are other mediums of learning, many of which are technologically driven and exciting, they do not change the fact that written communication is of utmost importance to human interaction. While we in secondary schools teach specific content as we guide students towards rewarding and exciting careers, all that we do is based on the bedrock of literacy. The entrepreneur we want to create must be able to read, comprehend, and respond to contracts, specifications of design, and customer preference. The inventor must be able to convince the populace that the item that he has created will help them, and he must be able to record the processes used so that they can be reproduced. The investor must be able to decipher the hidden conditions in the contracts and prospectus that he or she reviews so that he or she can give his clients the best advice and hopefully make money for everybody. I am therefore thankful that today we are launching a national task force on literacy education. While we as a country have always boasted about our level of literacy, we have also expressed concerns about functional literacy, the ability to operate in the real world. There has long been a need to take a purposeful approach to improving literacy. I think that this initiative is timely and relevant as we seek to reposition Barbados to take advantage of the opportunities that are about to present themselves. Please note that my organization will support your efforts to enrich the level of literacy and literacy education in Barbados, and we wish you every success. I am obliged.
Thank you, Mr. Jackman and Mrs. Walker. Music is a language in itself, which needs to be understood and read. To play music, you'll sometimes need to read sheet music, transcribing notes into song and melody. Learning to read music is often the first step to building facility with the instrument. And so as we're here talking about the importance of us developing literacy, we embrace and understand what the late Bob Marley taught us before his departure from this earth. When the music hits you, you feel no pain. And so I'm pleased to welcome at this time a quartet from the National Youth Orchestra to give us a musical selection. One more rousing round of applause for the quartet from the National Youth Orchestra. Don't think for a second that I did not hear y'all singing. Education, education, this is the foundation. Our rising population needs some education. To be recognized anywhere you go, have your certificate to show. To enjoy any kind of happiness, knowledge is the key to success. Children go to school. Listen to y'all. Otherwise, later on in life, you will catch. Oh, my goodness. Without education in your my. For there is simply no room in this. For who? For an uneducated little boy. Don't allow to lead you astray. Man, clap for yourselves, man. Yes. Now I want y'all to turn around and look at the students and the youth council. They are lost. They don't know where this song came from, what year it was released in, and they don't know who sang it. That is a part of our education as well, recognizing the rich cultural heritage we have across the region. That song, of course, was performed by the great, the mighty. That's right. We've been talking about an all-of-society approach to literacy. And I think it is therefore essential that we consider the impact of literacy on the deaf and blind communities in our country. And to share perspective on this, I'm happy to invite Mr. Wilmont Strawn, past principal of the Irvin Wilson School. Mr. Strawn.
Honorable Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, and other permanent secretaries, Chief Education Officer, and the Chairperson of the Task Force, Dr. Sylvia Henry, principals of primary and secondary schools, education officers, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, all, good evening. I first want to, with having had the permission of Dr. Henry, to make a slight adjustment to my title, and I told her, for this reason, it would be very remiss of me to come here and speak of deaf and blind persons only. I do not think that the community of persons with disabilities in Barbados will ever forgive. So she willingly allowed me to do this. And for that, I thank you very much, Dr. Sylvia. Over the years, we have been looking at special needs education in this country. I'm happy today to hear and to know of this task force which would look into all the aspects of literacy in this country and what we can do to uplift the standards across the board. If we're going to do this, therefore, we must include persons, students with disability. There are not many areas of active research which has gone on in Barbados, but I can tell you from over the years, there have been so many things that would have happened that underscores the importance of literacy. You only have to go into the bank in Barbados and see a student with hearing impairment frustrated and throwing his hands all over the place, not being able to get his message, his thoughts I happened to be in the bank. The Lord allowed me to be in the bank that day. This fellow was in a rage. And I was able, he has thoughts. He was communicating his thoughts, and as far as he's concerned, his thoughts were important. The problem was that the person on the other side of the communication could not understand. And therefore, that presented with tremendous difficulty that day. This literacy is not limited to just classroom education. This literacy transcends, it translates itself into the workforce, and I understand someone is going to speak to that. Having had the privilege of being the go-between between work and school, language is so important with a person with disabilities in the workforce. You have to be able to communicate your thoughts, and I'm going to repeat that again. You have to be able to communicate your thoughts. You can imagine a person with disability working and is ready to do physical harm on a person whom he thought was unfair in him. What were the thoughts of this person with disability? This person with disability felt that he was doing all the work and the guy just watching him, and as he finishes, he says, go do that. And as he finishes, he racks back, he's looking at the newspaper, then he says, do that. This person with disability was about to physically harm that person. I was asked to address that situation. When I communicated with the person with disability, the problem was that the person with disability did not understand the concept of supervisor. So what we are doing in the school must be related to all aspects of life, including the workforce. Because this person not being able to communicate his thoughts and feeling that he was being unfeared, you see the danger. Another aspect of communication relating to persons with disabilities is that, yes, they have their thoughts, and the debate is still going on, and is still unsettled as to whether thought comes before language or language before thought. The scientists think that there's thought without language. Some other persons think that you must have language to have thought. But if we, as teachers, look at simply decoding and encoding, you would realize that children with disabilities must have an environment that allows them to get ideas of what is happening around them. They must be able to embrace those thoughts, take them in, work on them in their brain, and then that's encoding it, breaking it up, and then putting it out in a form that makes sense to other people around them. When this is not happening, I'm going to use a Bajan phrase, all hell breaks loose. This is not what we want in Barbados. And therefore, at this juncture, to have this program going, I would want to ensure that persons with disabilities be included because they matter. We have said that they matter, and we will have to prove that they matter. Another aspect of what is happening now, I heard my colleague from APS mention that the whole business of inequity, and the Caribbean, all of the Caribbean, we have problems with sharing this pie, the slightest share of the pie. And persons with disabilities around the Caribbean, in the world, feel that they are seriously disadvantaged in this respect. I want to implore upon this task force, and I'll be willing to help in any way possible in terms of the knowledge that I've had the opportunity to get through my exposure in special needs in Barbados. I want to make the point here that we have the benefit of technology, which now opens the door for persons with all levels of disability to be able to acquire some level of language that they can communicate effectively. Simple things like the text-to-speech. The text-to-speech technology allows a person who's having difficulty in communicating orally to be able to grasp material or to get the text to say what he or she wants to say. On the other hand, the person who has his or her thoughts can also have through in the case for the blind, they can have equipment, and they do have equipment that reads for them what is on the screen. So what we are seeing here is that this opportunity through this body, through this task force, is going to present further options for persons with disabilities to improve their level of language functioning. And I sincerely hope that as we look at how we can do this, that we would draw on those teachers who've had the experience over the years to help us do better at what we're doing. Teachers, as we also find ourselves in this, we can no longer think of everybody on the same train. Tomlinson describes this as us engaging in differentiated instruction, where we do the things for each child that would give him or her an opportunity to succeed. And this task force, one of the overarching aims of this task force is to ensure that everyone has a task, an opportunity to succeed. And if we do that, I'm telling you, we will have less frustration. We will have fewer children wanting to fight and behave badly at school because they're feeling that they can achieve. And if we do it well, as I know we can, we would have more Kerry Eiffels and more Janelle's here? We will have the young lady who's the lawyer who went to Irving Wilson, Janelle Old. We will have more of them. I know there are more of them out there. But as we continue to work on our literacy and we pull out on those persons, you'll be pleasantly surprised of the persons in Barbados who have the ability to move on further. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Strawn. Well put, passionately delivered, and certainly very pointed, making sure that this approach we're taking to national literacy is an inclusive one. And it must be, if it is to be all of society. You'd recognize a certain common or golden thread throughout all of the discussions that we've been having here. This discussion on literacy is not relegated to what takes place in the classroom alone, though it does capture much of what we want to take place there. The children aren't staying in the classroom forever. We want them to graduate and become contributing members of society. The places where they do that are in our workplaces. And so literacy is a matter which must be considered as it relates to its impact on the workplace. To share with us a perspective on that, I'm pleased to invite businessman Mr. Mark Jilts.
Minister of Education, y'all can hear me? Yeah. Minister of Education, Honorable Kay McConney, Chief Education Officer, Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw, Permanent Secretaries, Chairman and members of the task force, all specially invited guests, media, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow literacy enthusiasts, good afternoon. Today I will take you on a journey through the captivating world of literacy and its profound impact on business and productivity. Picture this: Sicily, 1904. I know they didn't get that for sure. A world without literacy, chaos, confusion, and probably a lot of charades. Thankfully, we don't live in such a world. So let's delve into how literacy, the ability to read, write, and comprehend, shapes the business landscape and boosts productivity in ways you might not have imagined. Firstly, let's talk about the business world. Imagine a bustling marketplace where transactions are happening at the speed of light, contracts are being signed, and ideas are exchanged like currency. What do all of these actions have in common? Words. Whether it's drafting a proposal, sending an email, or simply reading a financial report, literacy is the backbone of every business operation. Literacy isn't just about decoding words on a page, it's about understanding them effectively. Think about it. Would you invest in a company if you couldn't comprehend its financial statements? Probably not. Literacy empowers entrepreneurs to navigate the complex world of finance, marketing, and strategy with confidence. Now let's shift gears and talk about productivity, the holy grail of every workplace. We all want to do more in less time, right? Well, guess what? Literacy is the secret sauce to supercharging productivity. Imagine you're stuck in a meeting, drowning in a sea of jargon and buzzwords. Suddenly, a brilliant idea pops into your head. But wait, you need to articulate it eloquently to convince your colleagues. Thank goodness for literacy. With the power of words at your fingertips, you can express your ideas clearly and persuasively, propelling your team towards success. But it's not just about communicating ideas. Literacy also fuels innovation. When you can read and comprehend a wide range of materials, from scientific journals to industry reports, you open the door to new ideas and possibilities. Who knows? Maybe the next groundbreaking invention is just a page turn away. I know you're probably thinking, this all sounds great, but how do we ensure everyone has access to literacy? That's where the real magic happens. Through education, outreach programs, technological innovations, we can break down the barriers to literacy and empower individuals from all walks of life. But it's not just about teaching people to read and write. It's about fostering a love for learning. Imagine a world where every child is eager to pick up a physical or electronic book, where every adult is hungry for knowledge. That, my friends, is the world we're striving to create. One where literacy is not just a skill, but a way of life. So as we wrap up our journey through the enchanting realm of literacy, I urge you to reflect on its profound impact on business and productivity. From the boardroom to the factory floor, from the entrepreneur to the employee, literacy is the cornerstone of success. In conclusion, let's raise our metaphorical glasses to the power of words, the magic of literacy, and the endless possibility it unlocks. Here's to a future where everyone has the opportunity to unleash their full potential through the transformative power of literacy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep reading, keep writing, and keep dreaming big. Thank you.
Mr. Mark Jilts, you would not believe this, but backstage, Mark was backstage in knots, yo. He was nervous. And you would not believe it because he was able to communicate so clearly, confidently. We all cracked up, well, the majority of us cracked up at the joke at the start. It all went very well, so please, one more round of applause for Mr. Jilts. Again, underscoring for us the importance of seeing literacy as something, the web of which reaches all corners of our society. And if we don't see how a child who navigates through school and is able to make his or her way out, getting through the examinations and so on, finding a strategy like the person who asks if the supermarket shelves have been rearranged, Dr. Henry, will end up being in a workplace where there is no way out. And that person must be able to perform and to interact and engage meaningfully, as Mr. Jilt so beautifully painted the picture for us just now. So, I am told that there is a wise man from the East who is to be joining us to bring some good news about literacy, its importance, its significance for us as a country. And so, in as much as baby Jesus waited eagerly in anticipation for the wise men to arrive at the manger, we wait in eager anticipation for the wise man from the East to arrive here with us this afternoon, bringing what I am sure will be good tidings of great joy. How literacy is coming to transform our country. This man certainly looks wise. I think we've been inspired during this afternoon's proceedings so far, haven't we? Yeah, it has put into sharp focus the importance of the work this task force is charged with doing. I'll take the opportunity while setup is being completed just to cue you, if it has not yet been placed within the leaves of your booklet, at the back of the room there is a form. If it is there, you'll see it, it should be able to come out. If it is not, there is a form at the back of the room. That form is to invite each of you to enlist as a part of our national effort to drive greater literacy across the country. It is not just the task force's responsibility, but certainly we're hoping all Barbadians put their hands up and volunteer to be a part of it as well. And there is a box at the back that you'll be able to drop those forms in once you have completed them. So, wise man from the East, we are eager to have you join us.
Mother. Literacy, literally, linguistically, longitudinally, is logically more than the ability of writing and reading. I shall say that again and again. You see, literacy, literally, linguistically, longitudinally, logically, is more than the ability of writing and reading. So for the time of man's early civilization, literacy, which is communication, was around. You see, from the Garden of Eden, the woman was told not to eavesdrop on the object called the fruit, ever. But she disobeyed. And then she had to cover up herself as she made her naked departure. Communication happened back then. And let me explain something. We used to communicate by imitating and making songs. On the plantation, we communicated via the drum. The drum. The drum. The drum. Messages were sent through the drum. And through hair plaits. And in the cave, we use pictograms and pictographs to send codes. I want you to understand that. So coding is nothing new. So you can decode and code switch. It was all done for comprehension. So literacy really breaks down to understanding rules, roles, and relation. So no matter your level of education, even if you are out of school youth, there's some aspect of literacy there for you. Because literacy, literally, linguistically, and longitudinally, logically, is more than the ability of reading and writing, ma'am. Let me take your head now to some sober reflection. Your mother understood literacy because just by a look, you understood the situation. Because that look tell you if you didn't get your behavior right. Licks on the horizon. Or the finger pointing meant authority without a whisper. Because if you didn't behave, minister, your later will not be greater. And if you live up St. Philip like me, and you see a pregnant cloud up by the East Point Lighthouse in the corner, you don't have to be Samud. Best to know, walk with your umbrella. And if you had one of them old people like one up by me, that anytime the arthritis attack the left knee and it making she ball, I am telling you later, rain gonna fall. That is literacy. And then when you hear that dove cooing on your roof, you don't have to read or write, just get it in your head. It is sad because you know very soon somebody dead. You see, don't matter your station in this sovereign society, we all have gifts and we need to embrace some part of literacy. Now they tell me that Barbados is high on being literate, which means that we could understand and interpret. Really? Sign says no dumping, but garbage next to it. So I just get confused. It tells me that Beijing something wrong with the head when they don't compute. Sign says disabled parking. When they reverse, they can't put it there. Police report and when they make a noise. I think we need to really practice literacy and understand to be street-wise and otherwise, like health-wise. Understand the meaning of the octagonal warning labels. You have to ingest and digest what going down your, is it esophagus or down your throat? And speaking about ingesting and digesting, the World Wide Web is full of information. That's a social truth. But you need to know what is decent and what is defaming before you press that button. That's literacy too. Because literacy is a liberator. Literacy is a vessel. Literacy is your ticket when you travel on that vessel called global ship. So literacy is literally and linguistically and longitudinally and logically more than the ability. I shall try that again, drummer. Literacy is literally, linguistically, longitudinally, logically more than the ability. So, We have school children here. What technique is that I just used? Well, lost. Minister of Education here now. So literally, she is not pleased. Is what? Come down here, sit and say with me, come. Come. All the adults are here repeating it. Come. I want 2 or 3 school children to come down here, come. You have to show me that comprehension took place. You comprehend? You understand? You say. Good. I just use different words to tell you the same thing. So you comprehend? You understand? You interpret? So, you ready? You sure? Hold it, Mike.
Literacy, literally, longitudinally, linguistically, logically, is more than the ability to just read and write.
I hear you, ma'am. I hear you, fella. You can't get her in front of the chief minister. Whatever you do, sorry for you.
Literacy, literally, longitudinally, linguistically, is more than the ability to just read and write.
All right. So you can leave. Thank you very much. So literacy, literally, linguistically, longitudinally, logically is more than the ability to read and write. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The wise man from the East, long trip to get here. It was important news that he brought, though. I must also acknowledge and thank the drummer, Captain Gilmore, first director, Adzil, and stage assistant, Claire Cummins. I wasn't going to give away the name. And we must thank Mr. Alf Padmore, who was the wise man. Thank you, Dr. Henry. I was trying to keep it a secret. In case no one had recognized. It is now time for us to have our keynote address. And of course, given how involved her ministry is, the demands on her time, we are incredibly grateful that she's carved out the opportunity to be here with us this afternoon. The Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, the Honorable Kay McConney. The keynote address, Literacy and National Transformation.
Good afternoon. It's been a while in getting here. And I remember Sandy Fields Kelman as I walked in and we talked, and I looked back at her. She said, "It's good to be here finally." And I want to say thank you to all of those who have been working for the last several years, several decades, to ensure that we reach a place like this. I want to thank all of you for attending this launch of the National Task Force on Literacy today. It comes at a time when we here in Barbados, we need a more coordinated effort across various sectors to comprehensively address literacy, the challenges, as well as the ambition we have as a country to ensure that our national literacy, not just the rate, but the way in which we apply literacy in this country, is something that does us all proud. And when we speak about literacy, we speak about literacy not only in our schools, but in our adult population as well. And before I go any further, permit me to say thank you to Dr. Sylvia Henry. I I recall that it was late last year at a meeting over at government headquarters when we brought together elders in education, that she was there, and I asked her if she would take on this responsibility. It was a surprise to her at that time. And supported by the Prime Minister, she chose to say yes. And so I want to say to Dr. Henry, thank you. It is a massive task. As you know, we will relieve you of some of your other duties so that you can give full attention to this National Task Force on Literacy. And to all of the other persons who are a part of the National Literacy Task Force, I say thank you. I want Barbados to know that these people, all whom you saw, stand up. If you can stand just right now for them to see you again, because some people came in late. Just stand, please, very quickly. Thank you. Just look around. These people are not getting paid. They are doing this for love of country. And so I thank you on behalf of the people of Barbados for the gift of your expertise that you are given voluntarily. So thank you so much. You heard the chair of proceedings say that from the time we were children, we heard of Barbados being celebrated for its high literacy rate. And this was, of course, highlighted for decades in the various publications by international agencies. As recently as March of 2023, actually, 2023, one such article published online by the Philadelphia Tribune. It's called Caribbean Currents. Caribbean has high literacy rate but faces challenges. This article quotes information about 11 islands in the Caribbean. And it speaks about Barbados and Trinidad, and it says that we have a 99.9% literacy rate. It is unclear to me what indicators were used to determine these literacy rates and how recently those statistics may have been reviewed. You heard earlier from our Chief Education Officer the alarming statistics about the performance of our children in the secondary, second, third, and fourth forms, how they performed on those diagnostic tests that focused on math and English. And while we are aware of Barbados's reputation in the Caribbean and internationally for high literacy, I hope that the results you heard from our Chief Education Officer will shake us up from resting on our laurels and cause us to recognize that there is significant work to be done to improve the state of literacy and numeracy in this country. And to go the distance of our very high ambition for student success, for teacher effectiveness in facilitating learning, and for our national economic growth. We have to move beyond the very ad hoc approaches we have used to literacy planning and programs. And we have to develop a national strategy that will allow us to think together strategically to redefine what literacy means in this 21st century, to reset our priorities and targets for literacy, and allow us to intervene with evidence that is informed by sound, current research. We as a ministry have our role to play. We must ensure that we allocate adequate resources to move us from where we are to where we need to be. And we need to be consistent in monitoring progress towards our national goals as it relates to literacy. I want to thank those teachers who participated in the education transformation consultations last year, sometime between May, June, and November of 2023. One of the things the teachers said to us is that there is need for us to strengthen support for the instruction, literacy, and numeracy in the primary schools. And I am happy to announce that our ministry, led by our Chief Education Officer, will be seeking to ensure that those literacy and numeracy teachers in primary school should be in place by September of 2024. And this came from teachers crying out and saying, we teach many things across primary school, but we need support in teaching literacy and numeracy. We have heard you, and we are responding accordingly. I want to say also that over the course of the past several decades, the field of education has witnessed significant changes. I'm not going to go through many of them because some of the previous speakers identified some of those changes. But understand that the advent of technology has certainly revolutionized the way how teaching and learning is both constructed and conducted within our school system. Virtual classrooms have become commonplace. The advancement of artificial intelligence will continue to make the acquisition of knowledge and skills more accessible to all. Still, in the midst of all of these advancements, the basic ability to read and write remain foundational to learning. I am happy to see here representatives of the ministry responsible for youth. They are doing significant programs on the blocks with the young people, and we expect that they will be included as a part of the work being done by the National Task Force, because the work that has to be done is not just in schools. It is not just in the workplace, as Mr. Jilks has said. It is also on the blocks. We had the Construction Gateway program, which was delivered through training, a collaboration between the Samuel Jackman Prescott Polytechnic, Barbados Community College, Barbados Vocational Training Board, and the TVET Council, Technical and Vocational Education Training Council. And one of the challenges we had was that while those learners who came in to learn the trades in construction were exceptional in terms of learning the practical skills, what challenged many was the fact that some could not read very well. The literacy, even in the very practical subjects, was crucial to their being able to reach their potential. And so the Samuel Jackman Prescott Institute of Technology and a number of our other tertiary institutions will now be seeking to put a literacy and numeracy program in place to support their other programs which they normally would deliver, because they recognize that student success will only happen if they provide that additional support even at the post-secondary level. I shared that because you need to understand that literacy needs to be tackled at every single level and in every single space nationally. You heard the chief tell you the reasons why we are having this national task force, and so I'm going to skip that part. I will say to you that it is also envisaged that the National Task Force on Literacy will work closely with our Ministry of Education, with the Erdiston Teachers Training College, with the Ministry of Labor, who last week in the Well of Parliament made it clear that they too wanted to be a part of this task force. The whole of Barbados is owning this effort. Additionally, on my way here today, I was speaking with the head of the National Cultural Foundation, who also asked for a place on the National Task Force for Literacy as part of the National Cultural Foundation. There is room for more. The task force has been constituted, but there is room for other partners and stakeholders to be a part of this national effort. We imagine and we anticipate that the task force will be working with parents, will be working with educators, will be working with community organizations, with various government agencies and other stakeholders, including the University of the West Indies, with the National Library Service, with community-based literacy programs to determine how existing programs can be strengthened and expanded. This task force is not meant to reinvent the wheel in every single area. It is meant to introduce what we need to introduce for the first time. It's meant to tell us what we need to let go of. It is meant to tell us what we need to hold on to and tweak and expand and strengthen so that we continue to build on what is already there, not that they're coming to start from scratch in every way. And I say that also as it relates to the policy. Back in 2010, the then government introduced a policy on reading. The intention is that this is about all of Barbados. It does not matter where things originated and when they ended. What is important is that this task force will also review that policy and be able to determine how it should be revised so that we can bring it up to date for 2024. That was 14 years ago, but as education in Barbados has always been a continuum from one government to the next, we will continue that tradition of building on things that were good to ensure that we serve the best interests of the children of this country. Yes, you're allowed to speak on that. Now, as the National Task Force prepares to begin its work in earnest, it will be organizing a conversation, a national conversation with the public of Barbados entitled Literacy, What Has That Got to Do with Me? We are inviting all of you, student councils, encourage your schools to be involved in this conversation. Principals associations, get the principals out, get the teachers out, all of Barbados. We want you to be a part of that conversation, because in 1 year, when this National Task Force delivers its report and delivers for us the clear roadmap to how we are going to raise literacy in this country to the levels of the ambition of this Barbados, we want to know that your voice is heard in every activity, in every program. You will certainly be hearing more about that going forward. And all I have to say to you, Barbados, is literacy really is the business of all of us. And we need you to come on board, join hands with us, and help this task force do what it needs to do for this country to elevate us to our ambition. Thank you so much, and have a very pleasant day.
Thank you so much, Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, the Honorable Kay McConney. A call to arms for all of us, that we'd be willing to enlist, provide our support, provide our ideas, to harness our collective efforts, that we can see the literacy standards across our country, as the minister so eloquently put it, rise to the level of our ambition. To move the vote of thanks, I now invite Mrs. Janelle Little, Education Officer, Nursery and Primary.
Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, the Honorable Kay McConney. Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw. Other officers in the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training. Directors, heads, officers of governmental and non-governmental departments and organizations. Principals, heads, teachers of primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions. Members of student council, so good to see you, and other student representatives, heads of unions and charitable organizations, chairperson, and members of the National Task Force on Literacy Education, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As we draw close to the conclusion of this momentous occasion, the launch of the National Task Force on Literacy Education, I am honored to have the opportunity to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks. Firstly, our deepest gratitude goes to our distinguished speakers who have graced us with their presence and shared their invaluable insights. Dr. Sylvia Henry, the chairperson of the task force, thank you for your warm welcome, your opening remarks, and for introducing all of the members of the task force who will be serving with you. I encourage all of you, as our chair said, to be an active part of transforming literacy education in Barbados. I take this opportunity to extend a special thanks to all of our task force members, drawn from various educational, governmental, and non-governmental nonprofit organizations whose expertise and dedication have been instrumental in the formation of this task force. Your collaboration is a cornerstone of our strategy to enhance literacy across all demographics. Together, we are poised to make a substantial impact. Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw, our Chief Education Officer, thank you for clearly articulating the need for and the mandate of the task force for such a time as this. We know that you and the ministry, by extension, will continue to provide support and guidance in our efforts to raise the standard of literacy in Barbados. Mrs. Alwyn Walker, President of the Association of Public Primary Schools of Principals, and Mr. Stephen Japman, President of the Barbados Association of Public Secondary Schools, thank you for underscoring the pivotal role that literacy plays in ensuring the educational success of our students. Mr. Wilmot Strawn, past principal of the Irving Wilson School and forever my principal, because he's the one who helped to mold me into the educator I am today, and I want to thank you, sir. Thank you for highlighting the importance of literacy to two very important and often overlooked communities in our society, the deaf and the blind. You have given much food for thought as we continue to work towards ensuring that these communities and other special communities have equitable access to quality literacy education. At this juncture, I wish to extend special thanks to our sign language interpreter, Mr. Tony Husbands, a teacher of the Anthill School, for ensuring that our deaf population was able to participate and benefit from this afternoon's proceedings. He did a fantastic job. Yes, I did a fantastic job. Say clap for me. Yes, he did a fantastic job. Mr. Mark Jilks, thank you for highlighting the important role that literacy plays in the workplace. As was mentioned by the Chief Education Officer, a literate and educated workforce is more productive, innovative, and capable of contributing to the economic growth and stability of our nation. The Honorable Kay McConney, Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, special thanks to you for reinforcing the reality that literacy lays at the heart of national and educational transformation. Your endorsement of this task force is a testament to the collective will to prioritize literacy and education within our national agenda. Your words have not only inspired, but also reinforced the significance of this mission. I wish to express our sincere appreciation to the National Youth Orchestra Quartet under the direction of Mrs. Joy Knight Lynch, for so beautifully rendering that item of music, and I want to thank you for singing. Student council members, Google it when you get home. It is truly a joy to see young people positively engaged in developing their skills and talents. Appreciation is also extended to the wise man from the East, Mr. Carl Av Padmore, for telling us that literacy is literally, linguistically, longitudinally, logically, more than the ability to read and write. Very good, very good. I can see you're taking your ginkgo biloba. I had to write that down. It was truly, truly enjoyable. Special mention must also be made of those who appeared in the videos shown during the launch, and hopefully, if there's an opportunity, you'll be able to see them at the end of this program as well. Thank you for your willingness to share your views so openly. They were all meaningful and deeply appreciated. Our gratitude extends to the members of the Rotary Club who have eagerly come forward to support this cause through your donations. Your enthusiasm and willingness to contribute time and resources are what made initiatives like these possible. Your actions embody the spirit of community and shared responsibility. To the members of the media, thank you for covering this event and for your role in raising awareness about our literacy initiatives, both now and in the future. Your work in disseminating information plays a crucial role in garnering support and mobilizing resources for our cause. And I will say I expect to see all of our activities in the media. Good. Gratitude is extended to the organizing committee led by our very hardworking chairperson, Dr. Sylvia Henry, and all of the staff who tirelessly works behind the scenes to make this launch a success. We applaud the Media Resource Department for the streaming of this event, the production of the videos shown during the launch, and for the programs and booklets. Special thanks are also extended to our ushers for the afternoon, and I ask all of them to be here. And I know they're watching outside. I see three ready others. Okay, stand up. Stand up. I've already told the principal and the deputy principal how impressed I am with this team. And I must say that these are student teachers. So I want to say that the future of education is bright. Literacy, education, and education on the whole, they're bright. Let me say that when it first came, they informed me that they have now officially formed an ushers union. So I will be calling upon this union for other events, okay? And I think I see the head of the union right there. You did a phenomenal job. Honestly, give them a round of applause. I met them for the first time today, and I was honestly impressed. Wonderful, wonderful job. Thank you so much. And as I said, these ushers were drawn from among the student population here at Erdiston Teachers Training College. We want to thank the staff of the Office Management section of the Ministry of Education for ensuring that all of our banners were transported and erected. Your dedication, attention to detail, and hard work have not gone unnoticed. It is your effort that has brought this vision to fruition. Finally, I cannot conclude without thanking our effervescent and articulate master of ceremonies, Mr. Raphael Saul. You are awesome. Honestly, you are awesome. I think I tell you that every time I encounter you. You were the magic glue that held this event together and elevated it to the level of success that it was. Genuinely, thank you. Thank you. As we set forth on this journey to improve literacy and change lives, let us remember the words of Kofi Annan. Literacy is a bridge from misery to hope. It is with that hope and determination that we embark on this mission, united in our goal to empower individuals through literacy. So thank you one and all for your presence, your support, and your commitment to the cause of literacy. Together, we will forge a bright future for every Barbadian man, woman, boy, and girl. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you kindly, Mrs. Little, for moving the vote of thanks. With that, all that is left for me to say is the National Task Force on Literacy Education is officially launched. I expected that to be attended by rapturous applause. And I'm sure that the chairman and all members of the team are eagerly anticipating your participation, your support. And let me remind you before we all leave that you do have those forms in your booklets that you can complete. Place them in the box at the back to enlist in the army, to join the task force and give your support, your ideas, so that this task force can achieve its national mandate. We must, of course, before we conclude, thank sincerely Dr. Cumberbatch, the entire staff and team here at the Erdiston Teachers Training College for facilitating our launch this evening in this beautiful theater. We are very grateful. So thank you to the entire team for the opportunity to host our launch here. And to all those who've played a role, we are indebted to you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Raphael Saul. Honored to serve as your host. Please have a wonderful evening. Travel safely.